Hello, I am a huge fanboy, and this is Phil the Thrill Collins. Yeah, spoiler alert here, this music in Tarzan is immaculate, and it seems like everybody already knows it, but I really don't think they know it enough. For example, starting with Two Worlds, it introduces the biggest theme of the film, the intertwining of the human and gorilla lives, while also setting the scene of both the human and gorilla characters, through lyrics that are a little bit on the nose most of the time.
No words describe a mother's tears.
The actual music behind it is stupid energetic, with percussion that refuses to yield to any other instrumental track for more than a few seconds at a time. And this whistle tone makes my heart sing. Ugh! There's a short interlude where Gorilla Mom finds Human Baby, saves it from a leopard that is honestly lucky as hell to still have its leg. Then we get more. Pretty good. A-, but we know Philly C can do better than this. Anyways, Kala wants to adopt baby Tarzan.
It won't replace the one we lost.
I know that, but he needs me.
And Kerchak tells the little guy, sure, you can stay, but... Oh yeah, you thought Phil was limited to just the songs? Nope. I'm gonna sprinkle bits of Phil remembers the Alamo so much he wrote a book about it, Collins work all over. Strap in. And speaking of, song number 2 from Phil, one of 2 artists to sell 100 million records in a band and as a solo act, and when the other is Paul McCartney, you know you're in good company, Collins. It won an Oscar, and I think a couple songs deserved that more. But we'll get to those two later in this video. It's a pretty typical, if decently executed, ballad, and really my only complaint is that they didn't use this a bit later in the story. Anyways, time skip. And this is the part of the film that kind of drags a little bit. Like, seriously, all that happens in this little anecdote is establish that Kerchak doesn't trust him because he's a human, something we knew already, show Tarzan making a selfish, reckless decision, putting the colony in danger, something that happens again later, and most importantly, establish the habitat of piranhas.
There are no piranhas in Africa.
A relatively harmless fish with a bad reputation. The only really necessary part of this interlude is when Tarzan starts smearing mud on himself trying to be a gorilla, which, for the record, is very touching. Especially how Kala notices when Tarzan continues to note the significant differences in their hands, and Mama asks, "Can't you feel my heart?" Establishing that, yeah, they're different, but what's the same is just a little bit more important. It also allows for Phil Collins to have another kick-ass song, Son of Man. And the visuals alongside it make it seem like this was almost exclusively made for a trailer. It's made to show a time-lapse of growth through Tarzan, and it does that well enough, but it's just a little bit standard. That being said, this song's a freaking bop, and super pretty as well. Maybe because of its trailer fodder nature, maybe not. But check this waterfall complete with horizontal rainbow and just all of it, goddamn. We also catch our first glimpse of one of the greatest visual ideas from Disney to date, which is Tarzan's tree surfing. So yeah, the scene is filler at its core, but it's more enjoyable than lots of other scenes of substance. So, Tarzan's all big and strong now, but Kala's over here calling Tarzan out on his hijinks.
Don't even think about it.
Showing A, Tarzan is just how he always was, and B, Kala's been around him long enough to pick up on this, and those two together show C, they're just as close as ever. So we can see very little has actually changed and... Alright, I guess we're fighting the leopard now. So, this scene is pretty cool. You've got your main character defending someone who doesn't trust him, some fast-paced acrobatics, some more fast-paced acrobatics, and a guy who lifts a freshly killed leopard corpse into the air and wails like a banshee. So Tarzan presents Kerchak with Sabor's pelt as if to say, "Look, I did this to help you instead of avenge my dead family, please accept me now." And Kerchak seems to have a hard time with accepting this guy who just saved his life before there's an interruption. And he's like,
I don't care anymore.
So Tarzan goes investigating the noise and finds humans! We've got Clayton, big, trigger-happy man who's going to be the antagonist now that Sabor is gone. Mr. Porter, a researcher who has more intellect than sense, and Jane, his daughter, who's just as smart, but decided to wear this getup into the jungle. And there's little baby monkey, and she draws a picture. Suddenly, Monkey starts crying. But she turns around, and there's a whole fleet of them! An army of monkeys, a huge tree full of monkeys screaming at her. Ooh, 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 ah, ooh, ah! Terrified she is, terrified. Suddenly, she's swinging in the vines up in the air. Swinging, flying, she's in the air. And then she was surrounded. And everyone, they take her boot. But then she's saved. She's saved by a flying wild man in a loincloth. Jane tries leaving futilely, and it starts raining. Cue the best scene in the movie. That is, the best scene without Phil anyways. I don't even know what tone this was going for, with Tarzan crossing all kinds of boundaries he doesn't even know about, and Jane clearly terrified of the wild man up until the moment where they both connect and they understand each other much clearer. It's astonishing, honestly.
Tarzan.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I see. Tarzan. Oh, I see.
And they tackle the very clear language barrier between the two in a way that's quick, funny, and, most importantly, not hand-waved garbage through some special gust of wind or something.
Clayton, please, can you take me to my camp? Yes, Clayton, wonderful.
So, Turk and some others, looking for Tarzan, stumble upon the human camp, and here we get maybe the most unique song Disney has ever put out. Courtesy of Phil, has an album where he performs all instrumentals and vocals, so you best believe he was a major part of this song also, Collins. Heavily instrumental, and the vocals resemble scatting more than traditional singing. It's not the best of the bunch because it serves no real thematic purpose whatsoever, but hey, it's nice.
Gorillas! He's one of them.
Then Kerchak's gotta show up and be his grumpy self. And Clayton and the professor show up as well, so the gorillas leave. Also, shout out to how Clayton treats the gorillas.
Oh, and there were gorillas.
Gorillas?
I saw the gorillas. Where, Jane? Where?
Always with interest, but never with wonder or awe. It's subtly great character building for when things inevitably turn sideways. Back with the gorillas, Kerchak doesn't like things different from him.
Why are you threatened by anyone different from you?
And Tarzan instantly runs off to nowhere in particular. Oh, I wonder where he could be going. Maybe it's back to that girl who can't get her mind off of him either. Yep, it's that. And I very much enjoy this little scene as well. Tarzan not knowing English is adorable.
Gorilla.
Gorilla.
And we follow that up with the best Disney song of the 90s. That's right, I said it. Fight me, Elton John. Strangers Like Me, from Phil, sells out 5 concerts in 15 seconds when he can't even drum anymore, Collins. All about Tarzan exploring the culture of his new brethren, the song's a masterpiece with a big soaring chorus. Representative of the emotions of exploring such a vast wealth of knowledge so quickly, and softer, more elegant verses.
Whatever you do, I'll do it too. Show me everything, tell me how.
More aptly portraying the minutia of the actual study. There are a few things particularly of note. This transition from stars to stars, Tarzan eager to share his world with Jane as well, and him being so eager to learn that he wears out the researchers, one of whom is infatuated with him. It's a special kind of endurance to exhaust a researcher with learning, especially under these circumstances. And the next time he visits the camp is leaving. And Jane wants Tarzan to come to England with her, and that him coming back here Tarzan counters, "No, you stay here," and she's all like,
You know I want to, but I'm in too deep.
Clayton then steps in with not so subtle manipulation,
If only she could have spent more time with the gorillas.
which may not have been believable if it weren't for number 1, Tarzan doesn't know there's a villain here, and number 2, the guy literally just learned the language, cut him some slack. So Tarzan shows them all to the gorillas' nests.
She's beautiful.
She's my mother.
Yeah, taking some big steps there, both parents in the same space. This relationship is going places. Clayton marks where they are on his map with a totally innocent smirk on his face. And Kerchak comes back and tries killing Tarzan's friends. Kerchak's angry Tarzan betrayed the family even though nothing bad happened. Yet. Kala then shows Tarzan After taking a bit of a look around, he comes out in his father's suit and tells her,
No matter where I go, you will always be my mother.
and you know what, I've brushed over this a little bit because of my love of Dr. Phil, cure for terrible music everywhere, but Kala is a freaking fantastic mom, raising a kid who most others treated as an outcast, standing up to the freaking silverback about it, and in Disney, where the mom is suspiciously absent quite often, that is refreshing. Anyways, Tarzan goes to join the other humans as they board the ship, talking about everyone who will want to see them.
Darwin and Kipling, Queen Victoria.
And I haven't met her, but I heard she's awfully nice.
But as we should have guessed by now, there's been a mutiny. Tarzan tries escaping, and we get to see just how little civilization suits him. Clayton is the big bad villain, and Turk and Tantor are gonna go rescue Tarzan, begging the obvious question, how did an elephant get on the deck? Doesn't matter, they escape. Back in the jungle, the poachers start to round up all the gorillas, and it's surprisingly explicit in its violence. Until Tarzan comes back, that is, and most of it turns to the standard non-lethal fare you'd expect. Then Clayton returns and things get actually violent again. After a brief struggle in the trees, Tarzan gets a hold of the gun and pulls the trigger! Not really, Disney would never shoot a guy in the face on screen. They would, however, invoke this brutal end. Well, anyways, Kerchak dies from previously shown gunshot wound, but not before dying words.
Take care of them. My son.
The porters are off to sea, and Tarzan bids farewell to Jane with their secret handshake. After 20 seconds in the boat, and her dad telling her that she should stay there, she jumps off the boat to teach Tarzan yet another thing. Then, in a really bizarre move, her dad follows her too. Whatever, closing stuff with a brief Two Worlds reprise from Phil, currently ranked number 26 on Billboard's top artists of all time above Billy Joel, The Beach Boys, Beyonce, Fleetwood Mac, and more. And for the record, that does not include his time in Genesis, Collins. So this movie is really pretty good. Let's tackle the worst aspects first so we can save the best for later, shall we? First and foremost, there's a surprising amount of dated CG in this movie, and a lot of it really did not need to be there. The water is actually really nice when hand-drawn or done well, like this waterfall or these little droplets near the bottom here. But the ocean when Mr. Porter jumps in is just unnatural. Same goes for the foliage when things aren't moving super quickly. Like, these CGI trees are plants just as much as your average potted plant in an indoor mall. But when vine surfing, this problem just is not there at all, despite the whole track being CG as well. As far as narrative goes, the story itself is a little bit cookie cutter. Oh hey, there's the outcast who doesn't fit in and the leadership doesn't like him either, but in the end it's okay and they accept him. It does take a few liberties with this. For example, the fact that Tarzan explicitly rejects being a man under certain circumstances.
Not a man like you!
Clayton is the obvious foil for Tarzan since the 30-minute mark, being what a man is quote-unquote supposed to be, and lends some strong thematic strength being one of two main characters who sees the opposite group as less than appealing, the other being Kerchak. When they both die off, their ideas do with them, and hence, man and gorilla living together. It's the most obvious twist villain that we've seen, but it's not really meant to be a twist for the audience. Just somebody hiding under the protagonist's nose the whole time. And while he's not up to snuff with the likes of Scar or Frollo in terms of his impact, he's respectable enough. Kerchak is a little bit irritating because he's a little bit too much of a plot device. They had a great opportunity to put some humanity into him when Tarzan presents Sabor's Pell, but that is quickly passed on. And we feel as though Tarzan doesn't owe him anything, meaning Tarzan's betrayal at the end has me putting the word betrayal in quotations. All we needed was a sincere, "Thanks for saving my life, Tarzan," and we're good. But this expression, it just isn't enough. Mr. Porter is kind of a nothing character, as are Turk and Tantor. The pacing at the very beginning is a bit wonky before it really hits its stride after Tarzan is grown up. And beyond that, this movie does everything right. Let's start with Tarzan himself. As a protagonist, he's fine. He's pretty decent, but they freaking nail the whole man acting like an ape thing. His general movement is incredible, and one thing that I adore beyond much else is how he brushes dust off the picture of his family. He starts with his knuckles, something no human would do, but a gorilla certainly would. Something this small has no right to be as significant as it is, but God do I feel it. Alongside that movement is the idea of vine surfing. As far as actual physics go, this is strictly impossible, but I do not give a shit. This is awesome, stylish, and generally just a good decision. I also very much enjoy Jane. She's in kind of an odd position being the arguably obligatory love interest, but she's got some flavor to her. Like the costume changes as it goes on, getting more and more adapted to the jungle is nice. In addition, her romance is a lot more than, should I be with this guy or not? It's, I really like this guy, but my whole life is a continent away from here, instead of a simple yes-no. Also, this rant right here...
Suddenly, Smokey starts crying. When I turn around, and there's a whole fleet of them!
Yeah, this is among the best monologues you'll hear in your whole life. So, we've gone over characters, plot, themes, visuals... I really can't help but feel like I'm missing something. Well, whatever, let's finish the video. Psych! I ain't gonna forget my boy Phil! Jesus, tap dancing Christ, what more can I say about this man, Collins? The music puts in work. Every single musical number, good shit. The score, good shit. And always keep in mind, Phil Collins didn't have to go that hard on the Tarzan soundtrack, but he did. He did that for us.
She seems to have invisible touch. She reaches in and grabs my holding your heart. She seems to have invisible touch. It takes control and slowly tears you apart.
Next time, it's an update video.